So it is Sunday the 17th of October 2021 and we are resuming our protest against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse and Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of clergy abuse and other sexual abuse within the church, because it's not just Unitarian Universalist ministers who engage in sexual abuse, it's also Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, also known as religious educators. In fact, I just blogged about a case yesterday, case of Stephen Craig Bullite in Oregon, which the Unitarian Universalist Church has tried to keep more or less hidden, and certainly has minimized it. They actually did speak about it at a UUAGA, and I think was it 2017? I can't remember the exact year, but that might have even been earlier. But in any case, there was a presentation about the case, although they did not name the perpetrator, and they definitely sanitized it as much as they could. They spoke about child molestation, but they didn't go into any of the details of what that molestation consisted of, which included sodomy, according to the court records. So I got some young people here, and it looks like they're going the other way. Not sure if they're coming to the church. We'll know if they turn right. They're looking back at the sign, so regardless of whether or not they're Unitarian Universalists, they are paying attention to what's on the side. But I have a feeling they just might turn right in a second or two. And again, perhaps not. So I guess they're not going to the Unitarian Church in Montreal this morning. So I guess they're not young Unitarian Universalists, which is fair enough, but they are members of the public, and this protest is intended for members of the public as much as anything else. So there we go, we got somebody going in, and hard to tell who it is with the mask, but it looks a bit like Margot Ellis, who assaulted me one Sunday morning. Was it January 2014? Was that it? I was protesting, the first protest in the new year of 2014, if I remember correctly, and I stepped to my right to make room for Margot Ellis to pass me on the left, but she barged right into me and elbowed me so hard, it essentially gave me a body check worthy of an NHL hockey player, or perhaps a female rugby player, and I fell flat on my back right around here somewhere. There actually was a tree there. I guess the tree is gone now that I notice it. There used to be a tree.
Why don't you ask him about the land that's there too? Why don't you ask him about the land that's in Skellima?
So if I had fallen back against a tree, I could have been seriously injured. I might have injured my neck or back, might have got a concussion. As it is, I was basically uninjured because I didn't hit the tree and I just fell on my back in the snow. But if I'd just been a foot further back than I was standing, and I was standing, I wasn't moving, I could have been seriously injured by that assault. And I actually did, it's funny because what happened is I debated whether I should call in this assault to the SPVM. I mean, it was a fairly serious assault. I wasn't injured, but it was definitely an attempt to, barge into me and injure me or knock me off my feet, which she succeeded in doing in terms of knocking me off my feet. So I debated, whether I should call it in, but, it wasn't a major emergency, and I figured I had plenty of time to call it in. I didn't have to even call 911 necessarily. I could have called the local police station number and discussed the situation with them. So I decided that I wasn't going to call 911 at that point in time. Just continue with my protest and call it in during the week and just ask, what they thought. Like, is it worth filing assault charges here? And as it happened, as I was wrapping up my protest, as I'd packed everything up and I was just about to leave, a police car pulled up. And I told the police officer that I was just about to leave, and he essentially told me I couldn't, that he was there to detain me and question me. It turned out that he initially started questioning my filming of the protest. I explained to him what that was all about, and in fact, part of it was to, document any bad behavior on the part of Montreal Unitarians during my protest. It was also to document police interventions and so on. So I explained to him what it was about, and another police car showed up with 2 other officers who got out. So now there were 3 officers, and one of the officers who showed up after the first one essentially said that they had received a complaint. I think he said about a woman falling down in front of the church. So he didn't outright accuse me of assaulting a woman, but he essentially was suggesting that I was somehow responsible for a woman falling outside the church. And I said, no, that didn't happen. In fact, the exact opposite happened. And at that point, when it became clear that somebody at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, most probably Margot Ellis or an accomplice, had called in to the SPVM or 911 to essentially claim that I had assaulted a woman, i.e. Margot Ellis. And she'd actually done that kind of thing before in the past. In 2020, there was another incident where I was falsely accused of assaulting a woman outside the church while I was protesting, and Margot Ellis was involved in that. So I think I can put 2 and 2 together here. So since the police were there, I made it clear to them, well, first of all, that hadn't happened, and if necessary, I could prove it. I had video footage of what happened, which, by the way, is available on YouTube. You can see Margot Ellis assaulting me on YouTube or on the Emerson and Avenger blog where the video's embedded. Just search for Margot Ellis Unitarian. You ought to find it. In any case, when I told the police that I had been assaulted and that I actually wanted to bring assault charges against Margot Ellis, in addition to public mischief charges for calling in a false report to the police, they indicated that they would go in and arrest her if I showed them evidence, that I was talking about, the video evidence of her assaulting me. And I said, well, I can't really do that right now because I'm still recording. and that was true. I was recording that whole conversation. And I didn't want to interrupt the recording to show them the evidence of Margot Ellis assaulting me. In hindsight, I probably should have, Hindsight, I probably should have stopped recording, showed them the video evidence, and they would have gone in and arrested Margot Ellis, and things might have gone quite differently than they did. So anyway, I filed a report. They took my report for assault and also for public mischief, and they told me that it would take a while to protest, longer than usual. To process, little Freudian slip there. They said it would take longer to process because their detective was on maternity leave and had not been replaced. So essentially they didn't have a detective to do an investigation, and they wouldn't be able to do that until they replaced the detective. So essentially I waited some weeks, waited a month, waited another month or 2, finally in, I think, June. So, 4 or 5 months later, I got an email from a detective saying that she wasn't going to do anything because she couldn't prove intent, which essentially is bullshit, because you don't have to prove intent for what's known as simple assault. And she knew that, I'm sure. So she knew perfectly well she did not have to prove intent for the lowest level of assault. But that was her excuse for not proceeding and processing the complaint against Margot Ellis. And so Margot Ellis never did face any criminal charges for her assault on me or her apparent public mischief of calling in a false complaint to the SPVM about an alleged assault on her that never happened. So, hi. Anyway, I think I forgot to mention that this is now my third protest outside the Unitarian Church in Montreal since being acquitted of the trumped-up breach of conditions charges that Montreal Unitarian Sue Montgomery persuaded the SPVM and the Crown to bring against me as part of her efforts to suppress this protest and keep me out of city council meetings where I was asking some difficult questions about her involvement in Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse cover-up and denial, especially with regard to abusive misuses of the SPVM police force, which is a municipal affairs matter. So it's been exactly 1 month since a Superior Court judge acquitted me of the conviction for breach of conditions that Quebec Court hanging judge Dennis Galiatis ruled a little while ago, which kept conditions on me for longer than they should have. But anyway, essentially had a approximately 3-year break from protesting outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and a good chunk of the latter part of that, I couldn't, there were no services. I mean, I could still come and protest theoretically, even if, there was no people coming to the church, because this, after all, is as much to inform the public of the problems with this church as it is to inform the members of the church. Most of them are well aware of my protest, although they prefer to buy into the spin of the church leadership, which tries to pretend they've done nothing wrong and the UUA's done nothing wrong. So it's 1 month to the day since I was acquitted of all criminal charges and convictions even. I have no court conditions, no criminal record, and so on and so forth. So, what? Anywho, just, maybe I did forget to mention also that it's the first Sunday where the Unitarian Church of Montreal has actually had congregants coming to the church for a Sunday service. Prior to today, the services were all, essentially video Zoom sessions. So, you'd have the minister and some of the other, so-called worship leaders, doing a service. But there were no actual congregants, or very, very few congregants in the church building, and no congregants showing up for services. But it's kind of convenient that I was acquitted so as to be able to resume my protest, or be protesting, because I already did resume it a few weeks ago, but to be able to protest the first Sunday that real life members of the Unitarian Church of Montreal are coming to church to see my picket signs, protesting against all forms of Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, both sexual and non-sexual, various other Unitarian Universalist injustices, abuses, and hypocrisy, including the cover-up and denial of clergy abuse, which includes pedophilia and rape. I mean, that's a perversion of justice. It's absolutely not justice to cover up and hide crimes like pedophilia and rape, even after church leaders and members have been tried and convicted of such crimes. So, again, those are the issues, part of them. Another issue is the anti-religious intolerance and bigotry that I and quite a number of other people have encountered at Unitarian Universalist churches in Canada and the USA. So, let's see, that face looks recognizable. Maybe not the face, but the hairdo. I think I have an idea who that is. So, in any case, they're getting to see the picket signs again. They had a 3-year respite courtesy of Sue Montgomery and the SPVM and the Crown, but all they really did is delay the inevitable. I intend to protest until justice is done, or I can't protest anymore, so it could be here for quite a while. I like to think of this as my Sunday constitutional. If you look up constitutional, thank you.
Not only pedophilia,
Yeah.
Canada is a corporation.
Yeah.
They have enslaved the people
Yeah,
under falsehood,
right.
and everybody's really lost that seed.
I know where you're coming from, and in fact, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
She's dead.
What?
She's also involved in pedophilia.
Well, she's the Crown.
She's also dead. They've been maintaining her with the reptilian.
Okay, possibly. But in any case, she's accusing me of crimes that I haven't committed.
Oh, wow. She doesn't have any say. She's not even from the...
No, I know. But
she's not even from this plane.
I know what you're saying. But when you're accused of any crime in Canada, it's the Queen.
false.
No, but
Yeah,
it's the Queen against you and you
But
against.
they came after my son because we're Moors. And
Right.
we weren't even supposed to be in their system.
Right.
So